Every child has a dream that when they grow up they will be something. I had that dream when I was 10 years old. I had a dream that I wanted to be on the radio. And I fulfilled that dream years later and was featured on Canada's most unique radio talk show, The Bill and Bill Show, where I became known as the tone arm for my musical ability to enhance that radio talk show. And it turned out I was the first broadcaster in history to use music to enhance a radio talk show. I then went on to host my own radio talk show called Life Talk, and it became Edmonton's most interactive radio talk show. I've also interviewed some of the biggest celebrities and newsmakers in the world, and I've also hosted a show called Edmonton This Week on behalf of the city of Edmonton. Over a 30-plus year career, you would look and say from the outside, he's had a very successful career and that things must be very well. I am known as a talk show pioneer and one of the best interviewers in the business. And from the outside, all that looks very successful. But do we really know what's going on the inside of anyone's life? Things are not always what they seem. For example, 500,000 Canadians miss work every single day. Why is that? Due to mental health issues. And that's a huge cost to our economy. According to the World Health Organization, mental illness is the #1 cause of workplace disability in the world. 20 to 30% of Canadians will experience a mental illness in their lifetime. What that ultimately means is that every single family in Canada will be affected in some way. No longer can we say, not my family, not my mother, not my father, not my brother, not my uncle. It affects every single family in Canada. That's a profound impact. And yet, there's a reluctancy to talk about mental illness like any other illness and any other form of human suffering. There's a stigma attached to that. We have regular reminders to check our blood pressure, check our cholesterol. You know, for women, get breast cancer screening. For men, check your prostate, all that kind of stuff. We even have reminders to check the batteries in our smoke detectors and check the tire pressure on our cars. Those are all important. But why not regular reminders to check your mental health? In 1991, I was suffering from a severe depression. I was very reluctant to go see my doctor. Lots of people were encouraging me to do that, but I didn't want to do that because of the stigma attached to mental illness. I didn't want people to think that I was crazy, that I couldn't handle this myself. I had an image of a radio personality that people had of me. I was the tone arm, and I did not want that image to be anything but that. So I fought it. But eventually, I just knew I couldn't fight it anymore. It was getting worse. So I did reluctantly go to my doctor, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And I was put on medication and a treatment. But over a 20-year period from that point, I still fought it. When I was feeling good, I thought, I don't need this medication anymore. I don't need this treatment anymore. So I would go off the medication. And I would crash. I'd have a serious mental breakdown. And over that 20-year period, I had 5 serious mental breakdowns. Each one got worse. And my worst was in 2010, where I ended up in the emergency room and I was immediately put under psychiatric care and was placed in an intensive psychiatric care 3-month program. And it was there that I learned how to turn my thought patterns around and get out of that dark place of thinking that everything is dark and dismal and nothing in life is worth living and there's no hope. To turn those thought patterns around to thinking of more of hope and living versus dying. You see, there's a lot of people out there who are suffering in silence. They don't feel comfortable stepping forward to get that help because of discrimination. Over 60% of people who are suffering from a mental illness will not seek help because of fear of being labeled. I believe it's time for a call to action for mental health and mental illness, to raise the awareness and to treat it like any other illness, because like any other illness, when it goes untreated, it can be fatal. Anxiety and depression are the two most common mental illnesses, but there's others, and it's very common to have more than one. I also suffer from OCD, seasonal affective disorder, social anxiety disorder, and a couple others. Probably a total of about 5 mental disorders. But the good news for the single women of the world is that I'm available. There is help available. I chose to be vulnerable. I chose to take that step to get the help that I needed that helps me deal with my disorder every day. And we need to encourage people to take that step, but they won't take that step until we, as a community, as a society, start talking openly about it to make it comfortable for them to take that step without any fear of discrimination. And the more we talk openly and honestly about mental illness, the more people will realize what I call the 5 basic truths about mental illness. Number 1, mental illness is not a character weakness. Truth number 2, it's not your fault. Truth number 3, you are not alone. You heard the statistics. You are not alone. Number 4, mental illness is treatable. I am a walking example of that. And finally, truth number 5, there is hope. It is a miracle I am alive today. I could have easily become an alcoholic, a drug abuser, or a suicide statistic. But thank God that I got the treatment that I needed, that I can stand up today and say I am a survivor, and encourage other people to become survivors and realize those 5 basic truths and get the help that is needed. The bottom line is, there is no health without mental health.